previously
also
on
emotionally
Family
available.
Matters.
Do you know what I mean? I think, just looking from my friends' perspectives as well, a lot of them have very close relationships with their mothers and very distant relationships with their fathers because of that whole, I'm the man of the house, which is great. I mean, you're bringing the money in, great. Life growing up in Ghana, like you said, is very different. Their relationship with their parents as well might have been very different. So but in response to your question about challenges, I'd say this isn't a personal thing, but this is just based off things that I've seen, is providing a space in which children can live their dreams or do what they actually aspire to do. There are a lot of parents, African parents, who it's almost as if they try to live their dreams through their children.
Yeah,
so it's like you might have
I think a lot of echoes of
so you might have a son who really aspires to be, an artist, but then the mother and father might not see that as a proper job and might force their child to get that law degree and I want you to be a lawyer because that's where the money is. The money isn't just where law is. The money is actually, a lot of the money is in the creative industry, if that makes sense. I think there needs to be more of an expansion or more of an awareness of the fact that children nowadays want to be other things. They don't just want to be doctors or lawyers. And I think I come from a very supportive family, and I'm very grateful that my parents and my dad especially allowed me to be free and open about what it is that I wanted to do. So when I was in year 9, I left my school and I went to a performing arts school, and then I studied acting somewhere else, which was great. But I understand that isn't the reality for a lot of African children because a lot of their parents are unaware of other job opportunities. So I think there needs to be more of a space where children can actually simply be themselves, because if they are repressed or suppressed and forced into a box, they're going to look elsewhere and go somewhere completely different. And then when your child grows up to be someone that you don't recognize, it's going to be... So I think there needs to be a space in which children need to, are allowed to be themselves.
Yeah, and I should just add that I know Daniela's family and the support, it's incredible. And by the way, I'm making the pitch. I know she wouldn't like it. She actually went to the same school that Adele went to, right? All the big. So it's not, you know what I mean? And all of that is possible for her to be the best she can be because of that support from home, right? And so that's really important. And the way that, popped up for me as we were having all these conversations about emotional availability of their meals, supporting different careers, is the word transformation. We are Christians, and the Bible says we should be transformed by the renewing of our minds, right? And that includes renewal from a cultural perspective, similar to the way the Bible expects us to learn what it means to be a Christian and improve how we do things. If something that was done 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the male father example that was given, being present for your children, being emotional, if that's the way it was, especially if you're a Christian and you've learned a new way, we are learning about psychology, how these things, being hugging your children, telling them you love them, showing them affection, how those things have a positive impact on the children. You don't see it, but psychologically it builds positive things in them. If we are learning, and again, that's the other thing, even if the person who came up with the theory is not a Christian, it's still God who gave them the wisdom. Sometimes we get so spiritual and whatever that we lose sight of what God is doing. So the word transformation, we should allow ourselves to be transformed. Not just young people, but older people. We should be transformed when it comes to how we relate to our children. We should be transformed when it comes to their desires and the gifts God has given them. I cannot draw to save myself. Like, if somebody's gonna kill me and they ask me to draw, like, I'm gonna die, right? So don't call me, right? But there are people who will draw and your hearts will just be so full, you want to pop. That is a gift. And being able to nurture it is so powerful. So the word transformation, which I guess humility to say, you know what, this is how it was done before. It's hard, but I'm gonna try bit by bit, right? Because with every try, you are opening pores and doors in the lives of your kids, whether they are young or old or whatever that is. So it is, all the challenges we mentioned are definitely true, and particularly on the male and the whole career thing. But it doesn't mean it should remain that way. The humility to say, I'm learning something, let me try this, something new. It may be awkward, but your parent, your kids and the young people will thank you for it.
And just quickly, that's not to say don't listen to your parents.
Exactly.
Because in the beginning, my dad was very, very harsh on academics. You have to do well, and that has definitely helped me in certain aspects of my life too. Like a lot of the, you need to make sure you're getting the top grades and stuff like that. It definitely did help me. So I'd say listen to your parents. Listen. That's actually crazy for me to say. But actually actively listen, because at the end of the day, your parents are there to help you or provide you with things to guide you in the future. So I think definitely listening to them as well.
And even with, I've actually got two, but it stems from what Auntie just said about they need to do more. And the thing is, I wrote it down as catch up in the sense that where I see myself in my family now, I am a third generation. And if I look above me, the first generation, there's a lot of catch up they need to do. And why? Why? Because, for example, one of my uncles wants to get married, right? And the first generation, on top of my head, there are about 5 or 6 of them. And the one that his son wants to get married, obviously, if it was me, I would tell you, my dad, this is my plan. I think I'm of age. I think I'm ready. I think I just want to settle. I found a woman who's good for me, right? And I want to settle. But what they do is, they've actually created this culture where they can't take decisions on their own. They somehow have to seek the final decision of the older sibling, of their between them.
Really?
And it's so bad in the sense that the family is set in a way that even a child born today knows the answer that's gonna come.
I see.
Do you get it? Knows the answer that's gonna come. So most of the time, I was discussing this with my mom. I'm like, why do they do that? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Because me now, if you think I'm ready to get married and I tell my mom's gonna tell her mom, and her mom is gonna tell
that
her
person.
older sibling. It's not gonna happen. No way. No way. But it's a thing that needs to change. That's why I called it catch up. They really need to catch up with the world now, because it was cool with them. That's how they grew up as siblings, and they've actually maintained that. But it hasn't worked in 2023. So
just off the back of what you just said, just sorry to cut you, I think for me what you said is completely bang on, and I see it transpire across families as well. But I think for me, I like to try and be impartial. I think a bit of credit has to be given to the fact that this new idea or concept of catch up to African parents is foreign to them. That doesn't ring bells in their head. They're thinking, what, you want to make a decision, only consult one person, then that's it. There's no going through the tribunals and all the other people. They're thinking that they're struggling to comprehend that you can just make a sole decision and stand by that decision without older input. That for them is very foreign. And even when we're talking about parents engaging in kids that have like creative skills or they want to do something, like for me, I have a really supportive mom. She's like, if you want to do something, do for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, If it's your thing that you want to do, make sure you work hard at it. If you need my support, I'm here. You know, so I've always been able to achieve what I wanted to do, whether it's doing gymnastics for 10 years or what I'm doing public speaking now, whatever, anything I wanted to do, she's always been supportive about it. So I've been lucky in that respect. But for some of my friends that I have, that doesn't exist, and they look at not my life in like jealousy, but in just awe, like, oh my gosh, like really, you're also African as well. You can also like do that. You know, I think a bit of credit has to be given to the fact that this is very foreign to them, and this has taken hundreds of years of building up. It can't just shift like that. Like it's like trying to shift gears, but it's just the gears that ain't going anywhere. You know, and I think it's really important that a bit of credit is given to them. You know, it's like chipping at like a block of. It takes time. It really takes time. It takes sitting down. It takes listening. It takes all these types of stuff. Because even now, COVID came. You know, kids' mental health is at all-time high, but you can't tell that to African parents. They think mental health. They say mental health care. That's not a thing for them, you know, and it saddens me, but it's just a very real reality. I think for them, they've gone through so much hardship through life that they've just had to get on with it. Even if they felt anxiety or depression, that wasn't what it was called. It was the feelings of them, but there was no label for it. But they just had to keep going at it, you know. But nowadays, you know, we live here in the UK, there's names for every single thing that you suffer with. And when you as an African kid, you're learning about this in school, you're thinking, let me go to my mum and tell her about it. She's thinking, what are you feeding my child? You know, by the end of the day, if they research on it, they read on it, they realize it has positive impact, you know, because what you don't want is a resentful child when they get older. Because they will come back at you and they'll say to you, you didn't hug me enough, you wasn't supportive enough, you didn't love me enough, you didn't do this enough for me, and this is why I am the way I am. And even back onto the father coming, you know, some fathers equate love with finance. They think, I'm paying the bills, I'm keeping the house in order in terms of the bailiff not running through security, make sure the taxes are paid, all of these things are done so that you can, you know, so that you can live in your home and be comfortable. That's how I equate love. But most kids, it's like, that's the least of my concern. I just want you to come outside and kick a ball with me, or let's go here together. You know, it's trying to switch what they equate love as being to suit whoever you're dealing with. It can't be one shoe fits all, and I think that's such an important thing that kind of needs to be brought up on.
I think this topic, I kind of like it because as someone who grew up in Nigeria, the whole system is different, especially in my family as a whole. In my family, if you have the most money, you can talk. It doesn't so you know, it doesn't matter if you're the firstborn or the lastborn. If you got money, you can talk. But when you're not in that area of money, of wealth, you know, there's certain things you can't say. And especially me, I like to have a deep talk with people. And I grew up with my uncles, my aunties, my grandma. Their way of living back then was different. So even when I try to say some certain things, the response they give back is not what I want, but to them, they've said the right thing. And then when I came here and I was speaking with my mom and dad, I could tell the shift. I could tell who back then was smart and who back then and who back then was just leaving. And then, you know, before my dad passed away last year, he was the one that, because he knows when I talk, I don't want like, oh, you know, you have to do this, do that, do that. I want answer that isn't like pointing at something. Let me find it. And my mom is the one that goes, you ask her a question, I was like, she goes, oh, we thank God. You know? and then you've got my dad, you ask him how his life, it gives you the old run through, and then he tells you, oh, because of God, that's how I'm safe. I'm safe, you know. But you know, when it comes to a certain family, how you talk matters, because I realized from people back home, despite they didn't like the way they talked, I had to also learn how to talk to certain people, because a lot of African people, they grew up with their grandma and mom saying the same words, like what an adult sees sitting down with a child standing up will never see. So they always think no matter what they say, their parents still knows every single thing. But with my mom and dad, it's a thing of like, if you say something they will listen to it. And then we have to talk about it. So they'll conversate. Like, even this morning, I was speaking to my mom about why didn't she let me do what I want to. I mean, why did she let me do what I want to do? And then she went and said, "You were going for it. Your dad was also going for it. So go for it. You know you're very good at business, but you want science. That's what you want. Go for it." So and most friends I've had, when they're talking, they don't really have that communication.
Yeah.
And most people don't have a communication with their dad. But me, I have a good communication with my dad because he was the one who had most wisdom, and I like to go in search of wisdom. So when he speaks, it's more of like, it's not like a control base. It's more of like he's trying to tell you something that he can't tell other people. Because if he says it outside, they'll look at him different. So when he says it, it's more of like, okay, I see where you're coming from. You didn't go to school that much, but you got that experience wisdom. That's what I need, because school won't teach me everything. And no matter how much you talk to certain people, no matter how close you are, there's certain words they will say to you, and my dad will be willing to say it in a way where he knows I will take it in. So some words he will say, no matter how harsh it may sound, he knows I won't be the kid that will go, "Oh, I'm sad, I'm depressed." And if I come to him and say, "Oh, you know, I don't feel so good," he won't go, "Oh, go and sleep." He'll be like, "You know what, let's talk about it." You know, which is why I think this whole topic as a family, the importance, the consequences, and it gets to a point where you feel pressure. Because I think there was a proverb I had one time where it said, "Where your dad stopped, the child will continue." And I think when you have some certain people in your life who are so great, people see them as great, and then you're like, "Whew, how do I beat this?" And then now in the UK where Apple or snacks is worth so much, you have to work twice as hard just to buy a snack you could buy like 5 years ago, but way cheaper. Now you can't even buy it no more. Now your taste is changing. You know, the pressure to want that money now is so high. So a lot of family now don't talk as much because they just want to go chase the bag, chase the money. And for people who like those talks, those emotional talks, not like let's fight and talk. Those let's sit down and talk, drink your water, I drink my wine, everything. Let's talk, right? Because everybody is just chasing that money. That lack of communication is so dominant now, especially in an African household that it wasn't there before. Now it's way more bigger, and that's why I've seen a lot in a lot of people's houses. But I can't say much because it's not my house. So.
I think you really hit the nail on the head, and the whole communication piece, right? Like it's not fight. He said no fight and talk, which is so like not like I want you to do this, not that kind of communication, but really below the surface communication, right? And linking back to what Rihanna was saying before around how our parents or the older generation, they're like from a different time. And a lot of the things they do, those things weren't built overnight, right? And it will take the same communication to get on the journey. And so I'm grateful we're having this conversation. I also think we probably need a session like this with the parents.
Very.
Just to talk about that, because it's, I see every conversation like this is a seed, right? To Rihanna's point, we're not going to change it overnight, but you chipping away. You plant a seed about communication. You plant a seed about hugging your child. Like, that's such a simple thing, but you don't know the frights. Maybe the older ones go, "Oh my God, how can I hug my, child?"
But you know what? Not to cut you off, but it's just with the hugging thing. Like, honestly, it's such a big deal because in Ghana, we're used to it. You don't get hugs from
unless you don't get like really rich. Like normal.
We're used to it. Exactly. Unless you come from a very rich family, or your family travels abroad here and there, so you're exposed to, But it's like, for me, like, I grew up in two worlds. I understand, and I understand from here as well. But coming here is like, it opens your mind to what the reality of life actually is. This is how life's supposed to be. It's just the little things. So you're not getting "I love you" from your parents. to whatever age you get to, 20, even to your 30s, you've never had an I love you from your parents. You've never had a hug. Just nothing. And it keeps you, wondering, like, what is this all about? So it's like when, you said we should have a talk with the parents as well. It's like, I'm just imagining, after having that, they try to implement it. It feels so off.
It is almost.
Even though we want it, it's like, let it come organically. But it's like, now, let me try force my way.
But I think that's the thing, right? Like, we need to meet them.
Yeah.
I think it's always going to be a tension. So, for example, let me go off of what you just said. Maybe you have a conversation like, all right, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to hug Jemima when she wakes up, like, hello, good morning. Like, why is that so big? I think just like we want them to understand us, to be honest point, we also need to show them some grace.
Yeah.
Right, in that regard. And I love the example you gave about lawyers, because I asked my mom that question. I was like, why is it that back in the day we were all about lawyer, accountant, and my mom was like, what, back in the day those were the jobs that give you stability. So that's why. And so I was like, oh, but people are not asking questions. So they said law, accounting, they don't ask about why. So if that's the real question you're trying to answer, and things have changed now, and there are other careers like the creatives where you get that same stability, then the mindset should shift. But one of the things I've noticed is like, this is the way it was done. No reason.
Yes.
Copy and paste. So to the earlier Rihanna's point, they had some of these things didn't start as bad things, so to speak, or negative things. They had a good intention, but unfortunately, the time for them passed. But people didn't transform their mind. They're just like, it worked 100 years ago.
So,
It must be good for these times. But what is the real reason for that? And then the whole relationship thing. That's what they said, the SE1. Obviously, not going through the whole Sanhedrin to the top. But the point of having the communal input, maybe not all the uncles, but people who know you. Because sometimes, we make bad choices. And you need somebody to tell you, you may be in love, but this person is not the right person. So there is power in some of the structures or the I don't want to call it controls, checks and balances that are in place. But again, if the reason is checks and balances, you don't need it to go to 100 people. You know what I mean? So that's and I think sometimes because of the negative impact, we just throw the bath with the baby in it. Right? But some of these things do have value. So it's about, all right, why did you do this? All right, if that's the reason, how do we implement that same goal in today's context? And that may look different. It may not be 100 people. It may be, we still need to talk to a few people, but it may not be necessarily that they are making the decision for you. But you know what I mean? So I think, again, that grace element, and we should also meet them. And the conversations, and that's what the conversation, if we don't talk about it, then everybody's making assumptions and you go that way, I go that way, and we'll never get there. So it is